Hey guys, I want to welcome you to the weekly Wednesday for the Financial Freedom newsletter, where every week, every Wednesday, we delve into something inspirational, motivational, something excerpt taken from the Financial Freedom weekly newsletter. Wherever you are, if you're listening on Spotify, on iTunes, Google, be sure to click the like, subscribe, share, comment. And without ado, let's get into the show. Welcome everybody to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. And as you know, we talk about 4 different types of freedom: time, financial, location, health freedom. And I'm always interviewing entrepreneurs, people on the cutting edge, changing the world. So today we have Sandra Halling, and she's going to talk to us all about email marketing. So it's going to be a fantastic discussion. I'm very interested in marketing, digital marketing, and so welcome her to the show. Sandra, welcome.
Thanks, Chris. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad we were able to get this interview on the books and talk and tell us more, the audience, more about yourself, your background, and how you got started.
Yeah, so my background's actually in marketing systems mostly for architects and engineers. At least that's how I started out. And I worked a lot on helping them solve their proposal process or automate their proposal process so that they were able to win more work in a smoother fashion. So take out some of that busy work, make the process more streamlined, and then fast forward many years, and I've been doing marketing systems now for 20 years. And now I think of it more like a 3-leg stool. Like that proposal process is kind of unique to that industry in some respects, but there's always some sort of a sales process that needs to happen, some sort of a nurturing process, and some sort of a presentation process. So I like to look at it from a couple of different angles now. And like you said, we're going to talk about email marketing today. So that's like one angle that you can take to better connect with your clients. And I'm just nerdy in general. I love all the nerdy systems and things you can do to make your life easier. So I'm all about working smarter rather than harder, in a nutshell.
Yeah, I love that. And what's interesting is it's all about leverage and, like you said, working smarter. And so tell us more about I guess in this age, you have social media, you have all this. Like, why is email marketing still relevant?
Email marketing converts better than any other marketing channel out there. That is why it is still relevant. And in particular, I think the thing that can throw people off a little bit when they first start considering it is the number one thing I hear is, I don't want to bother anybody, right? They don't want to send any emails or send too many emails because they're afraid of being bothered. And so what I like to remind people of is that when we step into marketing for our business and starting to send emails for that purpose, we have to remember that the way we usually receive emails, we're in a very different frame of mind. And often a lot of the emails we receive are about products. You shop online and then you're on that email list. And so you get a bunch of emails about products from that company. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're super connected to that brand or want to hear what they have to say. In fact, we're a little disconnected from it because the products are kind of standing in the way. So when you're running a more service-based or personal business where the client is really connecting with you as a person on some level, at least, then email marketing can look totally different. And in a nutshell, it's not possible to bother your ideal fit clients, because just by showing up and being authentic and consistently sending content that's valuable to them, that's helping them solve the mini problems, the little micro things that lead them to being ready to work for you, that's tremendously valuable in its own right. And it also happens to be helping them build that belief that they want to work with you at the same time. So you're solving their problems and helping them and building the belief that they should hire you. So it really is impossible to bother the people that are your ideal clients.
Yeah. And the other thing is, what's interesting is, this email marketing is with social media, you got Instagram, you have TikTok, you have YouTube, podcasting now. How does email marketing fit within? You have blogs as well.
Mhm.
How does it fit in with these existing channels?
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways of thinking about that. For one thing, podcasting is a spoken media. And so I kind of put YouTube in the same category, even though there's more of a visual component there. It's still someone listening to your voice. And there's definitely a value there because there's a form of asynchronous intimacy that develops. Like when people listen to your show a lot, they get used to hearing the way you introduce guests and the way you connect with them. And that can start to build a comfort level. So I would put podcasts and YouTube closer into the same category, although it depends on your particular area of expertise, what you're offering, because sometimes the video format really does trump the audio. But for some people, being able to do audio can really just be the perfect fit, because then you're in their ears while they're standing at the sink doing dishes or walking their dog or whatever it is. And it's a much more kind of intimate way of connecting with someone. Email marketing, on the other hand, and blogs, those are written forms of media. So straight off the bat, it's a slightly different structure to it. And I recommend that my clients do one of both categories. So either YouTube or podcasts and blogs or email. Usually blogs and email kind of go together because there's this sort of side branch off the blogs, the articles, that you can post them on other platforms. Like you can post them on your website. You can also post them on LinkedIn, and you can post them on Medium. But you can also do SEO. So SEO is what we call search engine optimization. It's where you go into the back end of your website for that article, and you're entering really specific keywords and making a smart title for it so that it's searchable via Google. So a couple of different strategies there. You've got the video and the spoken word. You've got writing, and then you've got social media and SEO as well.
Yeah. And yeah, so it sounds like, in combination. And I know a lot of, like, for example, like I use email marketing to drive traffic to my podcast, and people can subscribe to your email, and it's like so many different channels. And so I think, you have to have your hand in, a couple of distribution channels. We'll talk about some of the resources, but streamline and automation. I'm really interested in what you mean by streamlining email marketing, and of course automations. There's software.
Yeah. So when I talk about streamlining email marketing, what I really mean by that is setting up, and it kind of connects to the automation, but setting up an engine so that when someone finds you on the internet and they sign up for your email list, they're actually getting a series of emails straight away that is helping them get to know you, helping them build trust in what you do, helping them understand how you could help them. And you do that by sending sequences that are, 4 to 6 emails at a time. And you want to keep those emails relatively short, like 300 to 500 words, no novels. And you build on that, right? So over time, and this is where it starts to connect to the automation, is that you'll have multiple sets of these 3 to 5 emails that you're kind of daisy chaining together that serve different purposes. So some of them are going to be very get to know you style. They're just sort of informative. Some are going to be more of a direct sales, like you have this problem, I can help you solve it, and here's why that matters. More of a direct sales. And then some are going to be, what my favorite are, like the objection handling sequences, where you actually think about all the reasons that your prospects or even your current clients that might have said, I should have started working with you sooner. Here's my excuse why I didn't make that choice to work with you sooner. If you can find out what that is, that's basically the objection they had. And if you can build a sequence around those ideas, like usually it's things like money and time and confidence. Confidence comes up a lot. Then you can start to help them build those beliefs again that they should step into working with you on whatever your expertise is. So that's the path that I see. And when we get into automation specifically, it's like, you can build an engine inside of your email marketing platform that points people to different sequences based on behavior they take. And that's when we start to get into the true automation aspect of it. And I think the biggest, it's a lot of information right there, but the biggest benefit is that you set this up one time, and then it's kind of set it and forget it in a certain sense. Like you're going to go back every 6 months to a year and skim the emails to make sure they're still relevant and aren't saying anything, or, that you now feel is erroneous. But for the most part, once it's set up, they end up on your list, and there's 30 to 60 to 90 days of emails that they're getting before they're ever ending up on just getting the regular newsletter, right? And that's really important, because by the time they get to the newsletter, you want them to have some context for what you believe and why you're doing the work you're doing. And so if you drop them straight into the newsletter, they don't have that context built. But if you have this daisy chain series of emails sequences that start to build those beliefs and explain that context, then by the time they get to the newsletter, you've got a solid foundation under you for that, building that relationship with the prospect.
Interesting. Yeah, because it's kind of like email, then blog, and like newsletters is kind of, they have different it sounds like, in the past it was just, email marketing, but now it's like you can use all these different tools and distribution channels to optimize your funnels. What are some, people interested, how can they what are some resources that books or podcasts, YouTube channons that
to get started?
Yeah.
So there's a couple of resources that I really like. So one is Email Marketing Heroes. They're great. They know a ton. They have great templates. They have a membership, but they also have plenty of free resources. So you could check that out. And I'll get the links to all these to you, so you can put them in the show notes also. So Email Marketing Heroes is one of my favorite. And then the other one, you mentioned funnels a couple of times. Funnel Gorgeous is my favorite for that. And they actually have a free gift, freebie offer for a template that'll help you write your email sequence, your welcome sequence, your very first sequence. So both of those are resources that I really enjoy. And I think also it really depends on what email system you're going to use, because there's the strategy component, which is what those two service providers that I just mentioned could help with. But when you get into the technical mechanics, that's when someone like myself, who I generally build in ConvertKit, sometimes MailerLite, or I have some colleagues that they prefer ActiveCampaign. You want to find somebody who's using the platform that you're using, or somebody that you really trust their perspective on and understands your business model, because there are nuances to business models that can really make a difference in how you might want to structure that engine that I was describing to handle all those automations. So finding a person to help you get set up and sort of refine it can be sort of like step 2 in the process.
Yeah, interesting. What are some of the I know you work with clients, and what are some common mistakes that you see with clients when they do email marketing?
So the first would be believing that they're going to bother people, like we talked about. So it's like it's impossible. We just have to let that one go. And it can be sticky. It can feel awkward, like an itchy sweater at first. And the only way to get rid of that itchy sweater feeling is to start emailing, and then you're going to start getting replies if you're doing it well. And those replies will be like, "Oh my gosh, this was so helpful. It was just what I needed to hear today. Thank you so much." And you'll realize that you were actually holding out on people by not emailing them often enough. And every so often you will get somebody who complains, and it's like, you know what? You can unsubscribe at any time. That's what the button is there for. So we don't need to hold anybody hostage or, worry about them feeling like victims because they're on our email list. Like, they can unsubscribe, and we want them to unsubscribe because, it's costing us money to have them on the list. And if they're not enjoying the content, then they don't need to be there. So you can't bother people. The other thing is paying attention to the unsubscribes. I would not do that. Some systems will by default tell you when people unsubscribe. That's step 1. You want to turn that off. You basically never want to look at it or even worry about it. Let them have that agency and autonomy to leave the list whenever you want. Don't worry about who's unsubscribed. And then the third thing is to probably the mistake I see most often, it's kind of a toss-up between they don't really have a true welcome sequence that is helping people get to know who they are, and or they're not emailing often enough. So, and this is a big one. So if you think about it this way, if you email twice a month, that's basically 24 times a year that you're touching base with your customer, right? But if you email every week, that doubles. Just from going from twice a month to once a week. And then if you go to 3 times a week, right? Then you're going from 52 to 150, right? Times that you're connecting with your customer. That is a world of difference in terms of how your customer is or your prospect is connecting with what you have to say. And the key about this is that you're not going to send super long emails. You're basically sending snippets of ideas that help them go farther down their journey from where they were when they found you to where they need to be in order to say yes to working with you. You're stepping them through that process, one little nugget of information at a time, right? And so that's really the key, I think, is knowing that you can't bother people, getting that welcome sequence set up, not worrying about who unsubscribes, and then leaning into sending more emails than you think you ought to. Just stretch that boundary just a little bit until you get used to it, and then you can stretch it a little more.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I love that. Not bothering people, and but like I said, you just unsubscribe or just tune out. Really interesting. Like I said, I really love like email blogs, SEO. Those are kind of like the core, and then you have all these other things that you can kind of mix and match. Still powerful. How do people follow you on social media, connect with you, contact you, and reach out?
Sure. So if you're interested in what I had to say today and want to learn a little bit more about how it might apply to your business, you can go to sandrafixmytech.com and sign up for a free call. I do 20-minute consults. It's not a sales call. It's just a chance to like talk out what's working, what's not, and point you in the right direction. So that's one option. And then you can find me on YouTube at Creatrix of Order and on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. So I'll get all those links to you so we can put them in the show notes.
And for all the listeners out there, let's thank Sandra for coming onto the show, dropping huge nuggets of wisdom. Again, marketing is kind of the engine, and there's so many strategies, tools, tips. And so be sure to follow her on all her socials. All the links will be in the resources and show notes. And with that, thanks so much for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hope you really enjoyed that wonderful, inspirational, motivational piece. Again, wherever you are listening, if you liked it, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. We're on everywhere: Spotify, iTunes, Google, Amazon, Audible. And without much ado, be sure to thank this show's sponsors, and we'll see you next week.